It's Friday, September 11th, 2020. I'm Greg Nibbler, and this is Digital Trends Live. Yes, indeed. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thanks for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and more. Let's get started with some trending news right now. Both Twitter and Google have announced more extended measures to combat an onslaught of misinformation ahead of the U.S. presidential election. For its part, Twitter has already been aggressive at removing or flagging posts on its platform that contain manipulated media or false and unverified information posted by political candidates or groups like QAnon. The new policy update is part of its elections integrity campaign, which will remove or label any tweet that Twitter believes could be undermining the election. That could be misinformation about election laws, falsely claiming victory, or claiming that an election is rigged when there is no evidence in any way to support it. Those updates will start on September 17th, and Twitter said that it will be applied equally and judiciously for everyone. Google, for its part, is going to be updating a number of things as a utilization of its intelligence desk. As part of that, they will be adjusting autocomplete results when searching for something politically related online. One example they gave is that autofill search terms such as "you can vote by phone" or "you can't vote by phone" won't show up automatically, although you can still type them out. If you're online in any way, shape, or form, you know how much misinformation is out there from everywhere, whether it's organized campaigns or just very uninformed people stating things as facts. So there's still more that can be done, but you can read about the latest efforts from Twitter and Google at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with trending news, Apple's having a big event on Tuesday, September 15th, and while we've got some speculation as to what will be shown, they have revealed something that will be rolling out at some point, just not on purpose. So 9 to 5 Google uncovered code in the new update to the Apple Music app for Android that confirms the existence of Apple One. This is the subscription bundle that would bring Apple services like Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, Apple News, and others all under varying subscription bundles. So the code itself doesn't say exactly what services would be included or how much they would be, but it's interesting that Apple accidentally left it in its update. So that probably means we'll be seeing something about it on September 15th, or they could hold off for another event in the fall. But as far as what else we know about the event, not a lot, since Apple's usually really good at keeping leaks under wraps. We do think we'll be getting updates to the iPad, perhaps a couple of them, or even a new device. There's a good chance we'll get to see the Apple Watch Series 6, maybe a HomePod update, and probably some kind of software showcasing augmented reality based upon the invite that they send out. We'll be covering the event right here on Digital Trends Live with live commentary as they make their announcements, so be sure to join us on September 15th, starting at 9:45 a.m. Pacific for all the coverage. Ubisoft hosted another one of their Forward events yesterday, showcasing some of the new games on the way and a few old ones that are getting some remakes. And one of the highlights is a game called Riders Republic, which will be a massive multiplayer game highlighting essentially the X Games. Up to 50 players at a time will be able to compete in things like biking, skiing, snowboarding, flying a wingsuit, and a bunch of other sports that you can participate in. And you also get to do that while at places like Yosemite or Mammoth, Bryce Canyon, and other recognizable locations. That comes out February 21st. They also announced the return of Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. Yes, the 2003 classic is getting completely remade using their Anvil engine to give it updated graphics, voices, features, and it'll be available on PC, PS4, and Xbox One, but no word if it's going to be coming to any of the newer consoles. However, you will be able to play the 1992 Mac version from the main menu, and that one comes out on January 21st. So going from there, we've got fans of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. The game, well, it's now returning after mysteriously disappearing so long ago. The new version appears to be just as pixelated, and it will include a bunch of DLC music from Namanaguchi, and it will be coming out sometime in the holiday season for PS4, Windows PC, and Xbox One. There's a lot of other announcements that came out for that. You can check them all out at digitaltrends.com. And while NASA's Perseverance rover is still on the way to Mars, the Curiosity rover is performing some key experiments right now, including an upcoming one that could help determine if life ever existed on the planet. So this experiment in particular has been 8 years in the making because they needed to find just the right place to carry it out. The rover has an instrument called the Sample Analysis at Mars, or SAM, that can analyze the atmosphere and rocks, but it also has something else that hasn't been used until now. There are 2 small cups of a chemical called TMAH that can be used to identify organic samples. Once it's used, though, that's it. It's a one and done test, which is why they've waited so long to find the perfect rock to test it on. And within an area called the Gale Crater, they found a spot that has a lot of clay minerals, and that's where it's going to be tested. So they'll reverse drill, grind up some rock, place it in the SAM instrument, and the chemicals will go to work. The gases it gives off could let scientists know if there are organic compounds, which could be evidence of past life. It's a lot riding on it, but we're excited to see the results, and you can follow along at digitaltrends.com. All right, thank you everybody for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. And of course, you know, every other Friday, we've got a segment called Work Life, where we're joined by Ciara Pressler to help guide us through this crazy time. I don't know if you're like me, but maybe you've been a little stressed out lately. A few things going on in the world. And how do you manage that? Well, Ciara can hopefully help us out with that. Ciara, hello, good to see you.
Hey, Greg, so nice to see you. Good smoky morning here on the West Coast.
Yeah, there is so much that's happening right now, and I'm just going to say this. I'm having a little bit trouble hearing Ciara, so I'm just going to go ahead and adjust this right now, but I'm going to hand it over to you. Ciara, help guide us through this. What are some things that we should be thinking about right now?
Greg, there's a lot going on, and the first step is just to acknowledge it. You might be trying to work through all of these multiple crises that are happening at once, and you might be working from home. If you're like me, your desk faces a window, and all you can see out the window is forest fire smoke. And so how do you focus when there's so much going on? Well, maybe you don't. The first step of trying to get your focus back is to just acknowledge a lot is going on right now, and maybe you just can't work at 100%, and that's okay. We're not all going to be hitting our perfect productivity during this time between the pandemic, the social justice movement, forest fires, and anything else you may be navigating in your personal life. You don't have to hit 100% right now. Maybe 90%, maybe even 70% is perfectly okay.
Yeah, there's just so much, that's happening and that goes on, and it's hard to really get a grasp of everything at the same time. What are some good tips and tricks that can help everybody out?
Well, the first thing is to be aware of what is making you so distracted. For me, I'm hitting refresh on that wildfire map over and over. And maybe I need to shut that browser tab, stay off of social media during work hours, or just limit my news intake in the morning. We're coming up on election season, and while it's great to be an informed citizen, too much news can make you feel really anxious. Maybe you don't need every single breaking news alert. Shut those alerts off on your phone. Take those red dots away from your apps. That can really help you stay focused on the task at hand. Another tip that I love is doing things in intervals. The same way you might work out with high intensity intervals, you can do that with your work as well. There's a really popular method called the Pomodoro method, where you set a timer for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break and repeat that 4 times. And there are plenty of apps that will guide you through interval work like that. And so I love using that when my focus is everywhere, because then it turns work into a game, which I am all about.
Man, it's just so good. It's really good advice. You always do provide us with great advice on what it is that we can be doing with this. And thinking about that, going forward, is there anything else that you think people should be thinking about on how to kind of get through this crazy time?
Yeah, of course, be really conscious about your outside of work time as well. Make sure you're doing some self-care, and self-care sometimes might be going out to the bars, but sometimes it might be just like having a quiet night at home. Make sure you have some emergency contacts for your personal life, and that's people you can call if you just need to talk, just need to vent. Community, even though we are physically distanced in a lot of situations right now, community is really what keeps you healthy. So make sure you're building those relationships, those friendships, even if it's just over video and over the phone.
That's great advice. I've been trying to do that myself, and just it's crazy, but there's help out there. There's places to go and resources to look to. And Ciara, I want to say thank you for being here, to talk about all of this too. Is there anything else that you want to let people know about?
Yeah, just last tip is that, everyone else has a lot on their minds too. And so just acknowledging it, bringing it up can be really helpful to put everyone on the same page. And it is not weak to ask for help if you really need it. Tell people what's going on. They can't read your mind. So go ahead and speak up if you need to talk to a friend, a colleague, a supervisor, and get some more support.
Awesome. Ciara Pressler, thank you so much. PregameHQ.com. Go there. Love these segments and stay safe. Ciara, thank you so much for being here on the show. And it looks like we're going to go to a quick break here, and then we're going to come back. We've got some great interviews, great things that we're going to be talking about here on the way. We've got Intel joining us. We've got Ryder joining us. We're going to talk about AI. We've got tech briefs. It's all coming up, so stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibler, and again, thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it, and we broadcast live here every weekday, so hit that subscribe button. We'd like to keep you up to date on everything that is going on in the world of technology, and that includes great advancements in medical technology. And joining us right now, we've got Claire Celeste Carnes, the Strategic Marketing Director for Health and Life Sciences for Intel, to talk about some really cool breakthroughs they have in their partnership with Samsung Medicine. Claire Celeste, hello. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Greg.
Excited to talk about this, and I thought maybe if you could kind of walk us through what this big announcement is that you had.
Yeah, you bet. So first, let me describe the problem. According to the World Health Organization, today nearly 300,000 women died during delivery and childbirth in 2017. And in the US, it is actually increasing the rate of maternal mortality rather than decreasing. So this is a big problem that we are working on with Samsung Medicine. And there's multiple challenges around the development of the fetus, but one solution is to accurately assess the fetal angle of progression during labor, or understanding the descent without the need for invasive vaginal examinations. So what Samsung has done is has these measurements done automatically using artificial intelligence and deep learning, which makes this not only very quick, but reproducible and accurate. And the idea behind this then is the artificial intelligence ultrasound application from Samsung Medicine lets the technology do the calculations so the obstetrician can focus on the patient and the clinical decision making. And one thing that's really important to understand is that unlike other industries, artificial in healthcare is designed to enable the human, not replace them, make them smarter. So we call this augmented intelligence, not just artificial intelligence.
I love that concept because it's, finding different ways that we can use technology to help everybody out. And it's such an important issue, like you just said. And going from there, what are some of the different implications of when this could be utilized by people in the field?
Yeah, great question. And when you say people in the field, this is now actually in 80 countries. It received FDA clearance this year for use in the US as well. So it is not just for developing countries, it's also in developed countries where you have a couple of issues. You want to assess how the fetus is developing throughout the pregnancy, and then also that important time frame during delivery. So it's used in both of those cases. In the developed world, we know we have an issue sometimes with too many cesarean sections. This helps the obstetrician, the mom, really understand what's going on so that they can make the appropriate delivery decisions in real time. Time is of the essence, when you're in the midst of labor and delivery. And so it helps to provide visibility, understand what's happening so the physician can focus on the patient and decide what is best for them. So as a mom myself, I understand how important this technology is throughout the pregnancy and ultimately the delivery for the safety of the mom and the baby.
Wow, that's so incredible just to see developments like this that can help out so many people and save lives. And it's wonderful what you're doing with that. And for everybody out there too who wants to learn more about this and these partnerships that you have and how Intel is utilizing this kind of technology, what would be the best place to send them?
Yeah, great question. We do have a solutions brief that goes through this use of artificial intelligence as well as others. You can go to intel.com/help.
Fantastic. Well, Claire Celeste, thank you so much for being here with us. Really appreciate it. And thanks for sharing this information with us and letting everybody know about it and doing everything that you do.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
So that is fantastic. Learning about different ways that technology is helping out people and different ways that, we see AI and this rapidly evolving technology being able to save lives. And that's ultimately just really, really incredible. So really, thanks to Claire Celeste and Intel for being here on the show. Continuing on with Digital Trends Live, though, we've got some more to talk about. So joining us right now, we have May Habib, who is the co-founder and CEO of Ryder. And what we're going to talk about is AI also in this aspect and how it can help out all kinds of companies. And May, thank you so much for being here. And I thought maybe to start off, you could tell us a little bit about why you wanted to found this company.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. The ways in which we communicate have such a broad impact beyond what it is that we're actually saying. And despite all of these tools that we have at work to make our jobs easier, especially for marketers, especially for comms people, there's still a gap when it comes to what are we actually saying to our customers? What are we saying to each other? And is this on brand for who we are as a company? And that was the niche that we wanted Ryder to fill.
Well, and right now, that's such an important thing, too, as we see so many changes and cultural sensitivity being brought to the light. How is it that this can actually help out with those things for companies?
Yeah. So we are a writing assistant. We sit in somebody's browser and we give them helpful hints when they're writing. And that can be everything from your basic grammar and spelling to indicators when they really could be writing something that someone could find offensive. And in the inclusion and sensitivity space, that has become something that has drawn a lot of customers to our product. So many companies are and have made statements that they are allies to the Black community, for example, or the LGBTQ community, but their brand and the culture actually has to follow, or those statements are pretty hollow. D&I efforts are going to fail if employees don't feel like they belong. And the language that we actually use internally and externally helps create those kinds of inclusive environments.
It's so important. And like you said, yeah, if it's not on point, it does come across as hollow and people aren't following along. Going from there, and looking at this, how is it that companies can take advantage of this? And maybe if you wouldn't mind, showcase a couple of success stories too that you've had.
Yeah, definitely. We have been so surprised at the speed at which some of these things have gone mainstream. So, for example, capitalizing B in Black when it comes to the Black community. That is such an important thing. The New York Times made that switch, AP made that switch. But it, has traditionally taken years for kind of avant-garde language usage to actually become mainstream. And with a tool like Writer, that is accelerated. And so, I think that is a great example. We have also been surprised at the speed at which really big companies, I mean, we're talking like the Walmarts of the world wanting to go gender neutral in their content. So that's gender neutral pronouns, gender neutral nouns. Companies are really trying to do the right thing when it comes to the ways that they communicate and making sure that they're walking the talk when it comes to inclusion. We have seen tech companies go above and beyond, companies like Twitter, companies like Intuit, in really taking a hard look at themselves and the language they've been using, and really changing that. In technology, it's very common to think about and talk about and write things like master and slave when it comes to the way certain technologies work together. If you are trying to allow something or deny something, we use language like whitelist and blacklist. Those are very common in product interfaces, not to mention some of the corporate jargon that just rolls off our tongue, man hours, sanity checks, dummy values. And these can be really offensive terms. And so we have seen some incredibly forward-thinking product and content teams embrace inclusive language really wholeheartedly. And tools like Writer certainly make that possible. Most end users want to be doing the right thing, but if they don't know what the alternative is, then that's quite difficult. And that's where a tool like ours comes in. I'm still surprised at, I can open up the New York Times and they'll still, in a lead, refer to an alcoholic, and we just don't use that language anymore. That is a person with a substance abuse disorder, right? And this is a news article. So it takes too long for some of this language to become mainstream without AI, without the help of AI, even when people are really well-intentioned.
I love this kind of use of technology and what you've done with this, because you're right. I mean, a lot of that, whether it's ignorance or just not understanding, or just somebody who is not educated in it, this is something that could actually help out that and make things more inclusive for everybody. I love it. Well, for everybody out there, where can we direct them to take advantage of what you've got here?
Oh, thanks so much. So we are at writer.com, and we've got a free trial. We're also very happy to hop on and show people how the technology works. And it really is an important thing. And the ways in which, we have created a world where this stuff is not, embraced. We can undo a lot of this through our language. So we'd love to help.
Great. May, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate talking to you and kind of telling us about all of this and what you've done. Congratulations on the success. Well deserved. And thanks for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Thanks for having me.
That's great. So another fantastic use case of AI helping people out, making things more inclusive. Such an important thing. It always has been, but now more than ever, and a great use case of technology right there. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We've got Tech Briefs. I'm going to be joined by Maya Schwader. We're going to recap some of the biggest stories in tech from this past week. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and again, thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. It is Friday, and it's now time for Tech Briefs, where we recap some of the biggest stories in technology from the past week in as best as we can in 10 minutes, and that is what we're going to do right now. Joining me this week, we've got Maya Schwader back. Maya, hello. Good to see you.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So much to get through, so let's kick it right off here and talk about Xbox. So the console wars that are coming up, starting to heat up, and Xbox has really been making a lot more announcements than Sony has made. So right now we know the Series X, we got the price, we got the Series S. So just a quick recap, Series X is kind of the main one. It's going to be 4K gaming at 60 frames per second, maybe up to 120 frames per second, $499 at launch. Xbox Series S is going to be that slimmed down version, like an all digital version. It's pretty similar, just a little bit slower, but it's going to be $299, and both of those are going to be out on November 10th. But something interesting is this idea of essentially renting to own that they've launched, where you get the Xbox All Access Pass, and I think an EA Game Pass as well, but it's going to be either $35 a month or $25 a month, and then you sign a 2-year contract. How do you feel about this announcement and where Xbox is at right now?
Yeah, it's kind of a gauntlet to Sony, isn't it? The price is really what's interesting, because you have these two, complementary consoles, the cheaper of which really isn't that much worse in quality than the more expensive one. It almost as if Microsoft is sort of taking a bet on what the future of gaming consoles is going to look like. People are still going to want high quality, but when you're releasing a new expensive product in the middle of a pandemic, when not a lot of people have a lot of money, it sort of behooves you to try to drop the price point, but still provide some quality. This is going to do some numbers, I am betting. People are going to be very happy that they are getting something that is so high quality for not such a high price point as gaming consoles go. And then, we're going to have to see how this console war plays out when Sony decides to respond.
Yeah, I think definitely they need to say something. I mean, they've shown at least what the console is going to look like, but they haven't given us the price, the release date, and this pricing system. Like you said, not everybody has a lot of money right now to spend on a giant console. So that rental system, I mean, not rental, that's not what they're calling it, but $25 a month does seem a little bit more palatable, although over the course you're paying a lot more. But so that's what we've got there for Xbox. So a lot going on that, and everybody can check that out at digitaltrends.com. Going to the next topic, we've got this, talking about facial recognition software. So we've seen a lot of cities, a few cities anyway, San Francisco, Oakland, Boston, I believe at least, have banned the use of facial recognition software for governmental use cases because of all the issues with it. But now Portland, Oregon, they have gone ahead and banned it for not only that use, but also for private use. So businesses, banks, Airbnbs, nobody's going to be able to use it. And they've actually instituted a fine that would go along with it, and even lawsuits could be filed. It's a huge move, I feel like, with this, with facial recognition technology. Do you see this as maybe being the start of something for other cities?
I think it definitely sets a new legal precedent. Like you've said, we've seen some cities taking some steps against government use. This is the first time we're seeing this in terms of private use. The interesting thing is, though, this is kind of the perfect time for facial recognition to be proliferating. This seems to be somewhat of a reaction to that. I had a report that I did a couple of weeks ago about how there's a whole string of restaurants in Southern California that are starting to institute pay by face. They have these new kiosks where you just look at the kiosk and you've paid for your meal. And according to the restaurant owners I talked to, customers are absolutely loving it. I think what we're going to see develop kind of slowly is these two parallel societies, where there are some states where facial recognition is everywhere and it's super convenient, but possibly also super invasive. And then you're going to have these other states where you still have to carry your wallet. You might still be afraid of getting mugged, but you're not being followed everywhere with people tracking where your face is. And then it kind of just comes down to, well, which would you rather?
Yeah, that's an interesting dichotomy to have that, that kind of tech just being so just completely sparsely banned in one state and used for everything in another state. You got to wonder about the data too on that. Like, where's the data going to be stored on that? Is somebody's how they're going to handle all of that? That's a interesting use case for it.
That's a big question. I did ask that question when I had this report a couple of weeks ago, and this company that provides these kiosks claimed, "Oh, we don't see much. All the personal information is hashed out. We have your name, your address, your phone number, and your face." And I said, That's still a lot of information. People can still do a lot
So
with that. So
that's a
people
lot.
just need to be aware, right?
Yeah, I mean that's. I feel like you could do quite a bit with that much information right there. But yeah, so that's fascinating. So I'm assuming, yeah, check out Maya's report on that. I'll definitely be reading that afterward. And speaking of that, going to our third topic here, talking about Section 230 back in the news. And I know there's been a lot in the past going on with this about talks about repealing, and Trump got really mad about it, especially when Twitter started flagging his posts. But where are we at right now on Section 230?
Right. So for those who might not know, Section 230 is a 1990s law that basically allows social media platforms to function the way they function. It means that they're not liable for any hate speech or any copyrighted material that a user might post on it. We have seen a lot of effort recently from both parties and both presidential candidates, I should say, not just Trump. Biden has talked about this as well, trying to repeal or reinforce or redo the law somehow. And this week, a GOP group, I think in the Senate, introduced a bill that would actually greatly limit the protections that 230 currently provides to social media platforms. Now, in response to this, we've also seen a report come out from NYU saying, hey, listen, we don't need to repeal Section 230. That would create a new type of internet that we don't know what that looks like, and that could be potentially very bad. But what we do possibly need to do is create a new digital regulatory agency. This is all under the umbrella of the FCC. They can't do this all, as has been shown by how the internet is now. And platforms need to show that they are putting in a good faith effort to actually moderate the content on their platforms in order to get the protections from Section 230. So there's a lot that could potentially play out here. We don't know what's going to happen with this bill. Like we said, both parties have tried to attack this problem from very different angles previously. And this is definitely going to continue to be an issue way past the election in November.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that idea of having a specific agency that's just in charge of this, as we've seen time and time again for a lot of
Certainly.
the people in Congress or in the Senate. They do have very little understanding of how technology works, and I think you need somebody who actually grasps that. Andrew Yang, I don't know, whoever you want to put in there, but somebody who can actually try to get some measurements on this. But it's fascinating. So obviously some more stuff going forward with this. We'll see if anything happens before the election, but I would guess probably right afterward. But definitely interesting. And Maya, I want to say thank you very much for joining us for another edition of Tech Briefs. Always fantastic reporting, always interesting takes that you've got, and everybody can check it all out too at digitaltrends.com. Maya, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Maya Schrader right here on Digital Trends Live for Tech Briefs. And again, you can hit subscribe to the podcast as well, wherever you get podcasts. And that you'll get those updates for everything that's going on in the world of technology and catch up on the latest stories. And that's what we do here every day. We make sure that you know what you need to know when it comes to tech. But of course, you can always go to digitaltrends.com and join us there. Follow along. Coming up next week, we've got that Big Apple event. So like I said, we're going to be having an entire commentary going on throughout that. It's on September 15th, so it's 9:45 a.m. Pacific, 12:45 p.m. Eastern. And you can join in with us, and we'll kind of give our analysis of what it is that Apple's announcing. You can even watch the event and listen to us if you want. You can do it kind of however you want to do that, but definitely join us for that. And as usual, we'll have some amazing guests. We'll have all the tech news that you can handle, and that is all coming up next week. I'm Greg Nibbler. Have a great weekend. I'll be back here on Monday with another edition of Digital Trends Live.